Alrighty, hello and welcome back to our very first episode!
This is gonna be so great.
Yes,
so
I'm very excited. Y'all are in for a very wild ride.
And you have no clue, like, the universe was trying to hold us back.
Oh my god, the way we've been trying to get this episode recorded for a month and a half
Literally
now.
weeks on weeks on weeks. Just a whole bunch of technical issues. I mean, we're just having to learn the ins and outs of podcasting and the 10 million different types of adapters that come with microphones.
Oh my god, yeah.
So, but now that we figured it out, now that we girl bossed our way through,
we are ready to share with you guys
okay,
some
so
hot takes.
do you want to tell them about our first episode topic? It's very controversial, but
So this episode's topic is going to be why men are inferior. But don't worry, we know they have inferior females out there too. We're going to get to them eventually, but we're talking about the men today because they are the real issue at hand.
because first of all, happy Women's History Month.
Slay!
Second of all, when you hear that title, why men are inferior, it literally sounds insane. Because no one says that. However, there are literally men who think that,
wholeheartedly believe
it.
We are the inferior gender.
Biologically, intelligence-wise, just everything you name it, they truly think that women are lesser than. Mm-hmm. And that's normal. But for me, for us to title the, podcast episode, Why Men Are Inferior,
we already imagine all the hate we're gonna get for
literally,
it.
People ask me, we're starting a podcast, and I am telling some of my friends and family, and they're like, oh, what's your first episode going to be about? And I'm just
crickets.
I just kind of chuckle beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have some really good written down points, and we're just going to get into it, to be honest. So, Maddie, I'm going to ask you what your first point was.
So we did a lot of studies and researching on this because we didn't want to just come into this calling men inferior just with our own opinions behind it. So I kind of did some researching into the difference of when men hate men or men hate women versus women hating men. And let me tell y'all, usually when a woman hates a man, it's because, something traumatic has happened. You've had a bad experience with a man. You have a valid reason, and it's usually that reason has emotion behind it. Right. It's not just, I don't like them, you know?
Literally every single woman I know has either been, abused or manipulated by a man, or they know a woman who has been. It's it's such a common experience for all women. Yep. And so that's why it's there are collective groups of women who just hate men, and, that's just the way it is. Yeah.
But some of the stuff that I found was that obviously childhood trauma connects many things, no matter the person, man or woman. Childhood trauma really does it to a person,
right?
But in relationships with a man's mother, they just
God, a man with daddy issues is one thing,
a man with mommy issues. Oh my god, they're
the ones who turn out to be serial killers.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And their victims are only women because the first woman in their life messed them up, and so now they just have a vendetta against all women.
No, seriously, either their mom, the first woman in their life, their mom, or this girl that they met in 6th grade, and now they swear off all women. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of funny, honestly. Okay, so when a guy has mommy issues, that is like you were saying, that's the first time that they see, oh, this is what a woman is supposed to do. So let's just say their mom is a narcissist. Then they're going to think that women are controlling or manipulative, whatever, and then they just hate them.
When you just try to communicate, a woman could simply just try to communicate an issue with a man, but because it's something that they're doing wrong and they don't want to hear it, they don't want to accept it, it's just, you're just nagging me.
Literally.
You're just a controlling bitch.
Because God forbid that they ever do something wrong, or they make a mistake, or they have to swallow their pride and say, I'm sorry. Literally. So another thing is I saw this somewhere. I think it was literally Euphoria. I think it was Nate Jacobs and his mom. And basically, I think in one of the monologues, they were just basically saying how Nate Jacobs saw his mom as weak. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is a very interesting, like, feeling towards women. Mm-hmm. Because if you, as a boy growing up, if you see your mom as someone who is weak, if they're often getting, like, either, like, abused by men or just like
like the father in the home, like if you grow up seeing, you know, your dad treat your mom a certain way and her never fighting back,
right,
and just taking it, then you're gonna grow up and think, okay, that's how women are supposed to be, so I'm gonna treat the women in my life like that, and it's okay because that's what I saw, that's what I knew.
Absolutely. And like that whole mentality is one thing, but now with the age of the internet, that whole mentality just spreads and spreads and spreads, and then you have these groups of men that think the same way. So think of like all of Andrew Tate's cult followers of little incel boys that
literally, and just Andrew Tate in general, when we're talking about men who are inferior,
come on.
Side
How
eye.
are you gonna talk shit and your hair? You don't even got a hairline.
You don't even got, yes, exactly. You look like, man,
so out of all the men to pick from, this is the man that these little boys want to like worship.
Yes, and he has like such a crazy following. Like obviously to us, thinking him having a following, it's like that's crazy. Right. That's absurd because the things he says is just crazy, y'all. I have a few of them written down. I got my facts coming to you right now.
Right. What is it?
So I read an article online, and it was just about this one scandal that he had. And obviously he's been on a lot of podcasts. I think he has his own podcast even, or used to before he got like arrested and completely kicked off of all social medias. But he was literally like, some of his key points that he believes in are that like women belong in a home and shouldn't drive, and that they are a man's property. Like, if you have a girlfriend, she should just be by your side 24/7, supporting what you're doing what you want her to do, and helping you make it. Like, there's no other purpose for a woman other than to help you succeed.
I actually read a study about that and the correlation of that exact ideology of you are entitled to having a woman support you in any of your endeavors. And people who think like that oftentimes become abusers. I remember writing it down. Okay, here it is. So one of the biggest points that come with abusers and men and why they feel justified in doing what they're doing is that it comes from entitlement. So these men literally feel like women are supposed to be right by their side 24/7. And this is what I wrote down. A man will expect his woman to take care of him, cooking, cleaning, sex. And they feel justified because they, as men, have it harder. Mm-hmm. Whether that's working in a job or just day-to-day struggles, they just feel like they have it harder. Mm-hmm. And so the men like Andrew Tate or just abusers out there, they will value their own work while simultaneously dismissing their partners. So let's just say in a good dynamic, like it was a husband and a wife, right? Let's just say the husband has these mindsets and he comes home and then the house is messy. He genuinely cannot fathom why the house would be messy when his wife has been home all day. Mm-hmm. So let's just say like they have kids in this fake scenario. Yeah. And she's like watching the kids, or if she has her own job, like whatever it is, no matter what it is, he will never be able to put himself in her shoes. He will never be able to understand why she's not serving him. And that is where the dangers come. And especially with men who have seen other men be violent towards women, they think that's okay. And they see influencers like Andrew Tate spreading this hate and misogyny, and they think it's okay because now they have the masses on their side, but they have their own masses, like their own it's like a niche. Yeah, literally it's like a niche of just people who hate women.
Yeah, and it just like just that ideology that men have. Like, it's so crazy because here's some of the other things that Andrew had to say. Rape victims should bear the responsibility of their trauma. If it happened to you, you deserved it. It was meant to happen to you. He thinks that you should take full responsibility for that. He also, in an interview, stated how he liked to date younger women, usually 18 to 19 years old, to imprint on them, because since they're so young, you know, they haven't been ran through, they haven't had very many partners to, you know, show them one way of how to do it. So he wants them young and vulnerable and impressionable so he can get them and manipulate them to do and whatever he pleases, you know, like just completely form this young woman into what he wants her to be.
Right.
Which is just,
especially at the right age of 18 or 19. It's
and that's something you see even in high school, like those freshmen dating senior boys.
If you are a freshman and you have this like senior guy that's like interested in you, just
run.
Red flag.
Literally
red flag.
Run the other direction, please, for the love of God.
And here's the thing too. It's just like when you get older, what's the age gap between freshman and senior? Like for three years?
I think it's like, usually you're like 14 when you enter freshman year, and most people are like 18 when they leave.
But it has everything to do with where you are in life.
Oh, yeah.
At 14, you were literally like just hitting puberty.
Yeah.
Well, at least back in the day, I don't know. People are like hitting puberty at like 8 years old now, which is sad. That's a whole other topic. But like, anyway.
But yeah, no, because I can tell you wholeheartedly right now, when I was 14, I thought I was grown because of the things I had been through in my life. I thought I had experienced it all. I was 20 when I was 14.
Right.
But the truth is, looking back on it now as an actual 20-year-old, my mindset from when I was 18 years old is so different from from where I was now. And the mindset between then and 14, I was two completely different people at those ages. No matter how grown I thought I was not grown, and I should not have been doing the things I was doing.
Right. But like at the same time, it's also hard when there's no one there to like tell you these things or like help you through these things. Yeah. Because a lot of times that's exactly what these men are looking for. They're looking for someone who is like, oh, you're so mature for your age.
That is a line that's going to get you every time.
Right.
You're not mature for your age, babe.
You are your age.
Yes.
Like, I don't care. You could literally be like a politician in office at age 14. I don't care what you're doing at age 14. You're 14 years old. Your brain literally has not even developed yet. And like I said, like Andrew Tate, people like that prey on girls like this. There's a reason why I see so many TikToks explaining how like when they were ages 15 to like 19, they were like the most sought after, the most like desired, I guess, by men. And as soon as they are older, it's just like crickets. Yeah. It's like you're not what they want anymore. They're done.
We can testify to that 100%. I can, when I first entered high school as a freshman, that is probably when I got the most attention, because you're fresh meat.
Right, you know? Literally.
Like, literally, you are fresh meat, and so I was the most sought after, had the most play, and it's like, then sophomore year came, and as I got older and older, like, I kept getting less and less attention, and I was like, well, maybe it's me, maybe it's, you know, maybe I don't look the same, or maybe I'm not acting the same, or maybe, like, I didn't know what it was. I always blamed myself, but the truth is, it was nothing to do with me. I was the same old me. I looked the same. I acted the same. I became a better person, honestly. Right. Like, I was probably even more enjoyable to be around the older I got, but it was just, I wasn't that young, impressionable teenager anymore that they could take and manipulate and mold into anything they wanted, so...
They were done.
I just wasn't valuable anymore, yeah.
Yeah. So did he have a reason? Oh, yeah, you said that he didn't want to date older women, or he preferred younger girls because they hadn't slept with as many men.
Yeah, because I watched, like, the podcast that it was from, and yes, exactly what he was saying was... if he had the choice between a woman his age and a woman much younger than him, he's always going to choose the younger woman, because he was like, what are you going to get from somebody who's been ran through by half the town and, you know, has done X, Y, and Z and this and this. And he was like, I'm always going to go for the younger choice. Right. And it's just like,
and it's so crazy to me because like he is literally a sex trafficker.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how many girls he has slept with, and him as a high value man.
Oh my god, yeah. And that's another thing that leads into fucking double standards between men and women. It is insane, because I can promise you, like, as a woman, I've never heard another girl talk about like body count and it being like
that is so true. I've never. Oh my god, I'm glad you said that. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, but
like,
you know, like the guy friends I've had in high school, they would talk to me about like girls and like they were trying to get with, and it was like, oh yeah, but like I heard her body count was 5, so I'm not messing with that.
Right.
Okay, and you're lucky to be number 6. Like, it's literally not that big of a deal, and the whole like idea behind like the more partners a woman has, like,
the less value.
Yeah, and like just like I don't want to say the P word on here, but
I think it's
vagina,
okay.
Like, they truly believe that like it stretches out. And
yeah,
like,
that is so true.
Like, they literally don't like that. Then that's just not true.
It's literally
because
not.
I can sleep with one person 100 times, and it's going to do the same thing as if I slept with 100 people.
Yep, that is so true. And then you also think, like, I mean, this is kind of a separate issue, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, how do you think women can just like give birth?
Yeah.
And then goes back to normal, but they can't take your little 5-inch dick?
Like, literally though, like, but their little pea brains are just too small to even try to think that is possible.
Right.
They just think, oh, it get big, it bad.
Right.
Like, that is literally the thought process.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, and this was like a direct quote I'd written of his. I'm not a rapist, but I like getting to do what I want.
The butt.
If you have to put a butt after I'm not a rapist, chances are... Side eye. Yeah, I don't think you're telling the truth.
No, what he meant to say was, I'm not a rapist, but I am a sex trafficker. And I am a woman abuser. I do abuse women.
Yes.
But, you know, they're asking for it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they should take the responsibility of what I want to do to them.
Oh, literally. I wonder what his stance is on, like, abortion and birth control and stuff like that. Like, here's the thing. I don't watch enough Andrew Tate because I literally cannot physically get through it without being like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, why am I even watching this?
I sit there and it just makes me angry.
Right.
Because it's like, to me personally, just trying to think how someone could think like that, like, I can't fathom. I cannot imagine just waking up every single day and being so involved about other people's lives. Like, it literally, you should not give a fuck.
See, that's exactly how I feel with people who are homophobic or transphobic or racist or sexist. It's like, you know how much effort it takes to hate someone? No, seriously, do you know, like, you have to consciously every day make the choice to hate this person. Like, this is so random, but a good example is there's this girl I see on my, like, YouTube explore page or whatever. I don't even know. There's this girl I see on YouTube, and her show is called The Comment Section, which, ironically enough, that's the same name that Drew's podcast is. It's literally called they had the same thing, but they're completely opposites, right? And so she was talking about Dylan Mulvaney. Is that how I say her last name? I'm not sure. The woman who's like Gay 365. Yeah.
Of girlhood.
Yeah. So in the YouTube video that she was making, every single time she would get a chance, she would misgender. Yeah, she would misgender her. Every single chance. Like, and she would go out of her way to say, like, oh, he is doing this, or he is posting on TikTok, or whatever. And it's like, you are literally going out of your way to say that. Yeah. You're going out of your way to be hateful and spiteful. And, like, it just takes so much effort.
Yeah, like, it's so much easier to just let it roll off your shoulders, babe. Don't let it affect you.
Right.
I promise, I mean, maybe keep letting it affect you. It's going to take years off your life. And, you know, the sooner we get rid of all the hateful, spiteful people, the better this world will be. So, all power to you if you want.
So, I think I might go into some of the case studies that I learned about. And with all of our things, we're going to, like, link all of our sources and our information in our description. That way you know that we're not talking out of our ass. Yeah. Like, we actually have...
I promise.
Right.
We'll come with the receipts, guys.
So let me see. Okay. So talking about why men are inferior, one of the biggest things that I think of that comes to mind is that men are typically not in control of their anger. And I hate saying that because they are in control of it, because they don't lash out at work. They don't hit their boss. If they're driving and they get frustrated, that they're not going to like purposefully wreck the car. I mean, obviously there's like extreme cases.
There's always those outliers.
Right. But, oh, and then like all like the shootings and stuff. It's just like male rage. And, so I will say that women are a lot more emotionally intelligent. And I can already hear the comments. Like I can literally already hear it as I'm saying
a man
this.
And I'm in tune with my emotions too. We get it. That's not what we're trying to say here. We know they're exactly what I said. We know there's outliers.
Right.
So just like there's those extreme bads, we know there's some good ones.
Right.
We get it, y'all. We don't have to hear, well, there's good guys out there too. We're talking about the bad ones, okay?
Exactly. We are literally talking about the bad men. So if you are a good man, applause if this does not apply to you.
Don't get offended, please.
Thank you, God.
But if it offends you because things are starting to make a little bit too much sense for you...
That is true. If things are clicking with you, if you resonate with these things, then you might need to get checked out.
If the shoe fits, wear it. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe just be a little more emotionally intelligent and go see a therapist if this applies to you.
Literally.
Where do I want to start? I have like a lot of...
There's so many cases of abusing women, we don't know which one to go with first.
First, I guess we can talk statistics. 95% of reported domestic violence is caused by men. Yeah. Like, it's towards women by men. And like I said, there's the 5% of women that are abusers. Yeah. And like, that is a whole different subject.
Yeah, we'll have a whole episode on everything female related.
Right. But for 95% of it to be from men, that's when you really have to see why. And the reason why is, like we said, issues with the mother and father. Not to get all Freudian on you, but that is truly such a huge one. Your development in childhood literally forms who you are. And so having like a not so good example is like one of the first steps, I guess, into becoming an abuser. And also, fun little fact for Women's History Month is that domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women.
Slay!
Slay! And it sends over 1 million women to the ER or to the doctor every single year.
And that's just fucking crazy, bro.
And those are the women,
reported,
right? Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's literally only the ones who report it, because so many times women in these situations are unable to report it because they will get killed. Like it's just,
and like that's something I hate to see when, like, you know, you see videos or TikToks or something about like women talking about their experience, and then there's all these people in the comments being like, well, why wouldn't you just leave? It's so easy to just go. And until you've been in a situation like that, do not make those comments, because exactly like she just said, they can't always just leave.
Right.
Like, it's either sometimes it's so bad that they're so scared to even try to do anything. They can't even get out of bed in the morning because they're just terrified of what's going to happen to them. And like,
or maybe worst case scenario, maybe they have kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they can't just leave because now that man has like rights. Take them away. No, I'm just kidding.
And like if you try, like if a woman in that situation tried to take the kid with her, he could like file for a missing child report or
also,
something.
the fact that like in pregnant women, it's like I'm pretty sure it's like the leading cause of death in pregnant women is just abuse. It's just like them being murdered. And like,
yep.
It's crazy.
Also, kind of a controversial thing, but just popped into my head. Obviously, we know the whole Roe versus Wade thing got like overturned or whatever. Women cannot get abortions in certain states, Texas being one of them.
Yay.
Now, say what would happen if a man were to beat a woman so bad he killed the baby? Is that considered manslaughter now? I don't know if it already is, but like
I think,
or like he made her like take something or do something, like, because they're gonna try to press the woman for it.
Right. It depends on if the woman's alive or not.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
To be very honest with you, like, if the woman survives it and the baby doesn't, then I don't even know. I don't think I have the answer to that. Yeah. Logically, I would love to say like, oh yeah, he would get charged with manslaughter. Yeah. He would, go to court, go from there. Yeah.
Maybe we'll look into that for you guys.
Right. And that's another thing. It's just like, I don't know. This is kind of like a hot take. I will never understand why these men, or like specifically abusers in this case, if they are like anti-abortion or anything like that, I will never understand it. Because rather than literally murdering your like pregnant either girlfriend, wife, whoever she is, she can just get an abortion, and that would be that. Your problems will be solved and you go separate. It seems so simple on like our minds, but I will never, ever, ever understand like the whole like anti-abortion people. Yeah. I'm just gonna be honest. Like,
I know, and like that this is another thing on like the whole hating women thing. Is I saw a TikTok the other day that was like a woman, and she was like, if I'm ever in this situation where it's between my life and my unborn child's life, like in the delivery room, I pray that my husband chooses me.
Right? Isn't that crazy that like the husband could literally like just
like that's his call. And there were so many comments. I was reading through them, and like there were some obviously that like women being like, yes, I agree wholeheartedly, like he better choose me. But then there were some men and women in the comments being like, well, like you've lived your life.
Yes.
Let this baby have a chance at life. Yeah. He hasn't had. No!
Are you
Let
kidding?
me continue living my life that I have already started. I have already made real life connections. I've already. What? Like, so my years of just being a person doesn't matter because there's this new life coming into the world? Fuck them kids, bro! I'm so sorry! No!
Seriously. And like, it's great because I have like firsthand experience in this. Like when, obviously if you're here, you know the name of our podcast, Teen Mom, and this is Dropout. But for me in the hospital, I literally was dying. Yeah. Like I had to have an emergency C-section. And then at the same time, the cord, umbilical cord was wrapped around Kai's neck. And so literally it wasn't a matter of like choosing. They were just frantically trying to help us both. Yeah. But if it did come down to that choice, me and Walker already talked about it. We were like, save me.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, after I saw that TikTok, I asked Reese, I was like, if we were, ever, God forbid, but if we were ever in that situation, he was like, oh, I'm choosing you 1,000%. I was like,
right. Right.
Just a sigh of relief. But then it got me thinking, like, there are women out there who their partners are gonna choose the kid.
Yep.
And that's crazy to me because as a partner, I would not want to raise that kid by myself after. I mean, obviously it's not the baby's fault.
Right, no.
Like, I feel like I would have resentment towards my child for taking my life partner away from me and leaving me to raise this being just by myself.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you and your partner can have another baby. Mm-hmm. Your partner can't have another you. Like,
right.
Yeah, they can get another relationship, but like, there's never going to be another you.
Thank you so much for watching so far of Teen Mom and a Dropout. I'm Michaela. I'm the Teen Mom, and
I'm Maddie, the Dropout.
You can follow me. I'm on TikTok and on Instagram, and I will put the handles somewhere here. And then Maddie.
Yeah, I have TikTok and Instagram. We also have a new TikTok specifically for the podcast. Teen Mom and a Dropout. Go follow if you'd like.
Absolutely. And we don't have ads yet, so this is our little self-promo plug.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And like, I'm really glad you said that about the relationship, because there are different, like, your relationship with your spouse or your partner is going to be completely different than your relationship with your kid.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it kind of goes down, you know, that whole question that's like, okay, you ask a man, who do you like prioritize first in the relationship? So you have the guy's mom or the partner, and then their kids, and then their sister, or something like that. And it's like, they have to like kind of like rank where their priorities lie or whatever. That question itself is like such a hot topic.
Yeah,
but I can give you my personal answer. And then we can talk about like men who like abusers in this case, so we can kind of like give what their perspective would be. Okay, so for me and Walker, we both kind of feel the same way. Your partner is supposed to be with you forever and always. Like, that is literally just like, it's you and them against the world type of thing. Like, so you and your partner are supposed to build this life together. And that's, in my opinion, what my goal is, and Walker's goal is when we get married, is just, we're continuously building this life together, because your kids are going to grow up. They are going to have their own lives. And their own identity, their own partners, whatever. When it comes to your mom, in this case, they are very important, but at the same time, they're not your partner. Like, that's not their mom, or a guy's mom is not their wife, and there's a huge difference. So I feel like in my order, it would be wife, kid, mom, sister. And that's not to say that like any of them are less important. That's like a big difference.
I think it just like, because that would make sense to me, because in my eyes, I would look at it as like, the family you've created is a family that you chose. You know, you chose your partner, y'all chose to have a child, and you chose to create this, you know, now union. Right. The family you're born into,
it's just,
that's just, you're born into
that's just
it.
Dumb luck.
Yeah, literally. Like, I got the shit end of the stick on that one. Like, so obviously I feel like you're always going to have love for your family, because they're your family. Right. You were born into it. That's just what you know. You love them. But I feel like the love you would have for your chosen family, like, it would be different. And I would assume greater, because you chose them. Exactly. Like, it wasn't just, okay, here's your partner, you have to love them.
Right. And that's a really interesting point. I literally saw a TikTok one time. My sister sent it to me. And it was just pretty much like, once you realize that, like, when your older sister has kids in a family, that they're not your immediate family anymore. And that's just really funny. It's like what you're saying. It's like, my immediate family now is Walker and Kai. Yeah. And Bella and Moonlight, our pets.
Yeah. Cute.
But
wow, I've never thought about that.
Right? Yeah. And then your extended family now is your mom, your dad, your sister. Like, it's crazy to think about, but it is so true. So from the mind of a toxic man or an abuser in this instance, I think that personally their kid would probably be the first one, because it's their direct like lineage of themselves. Like, from an abuser, they see their kids as an extension of themselves. And if they don't live their lives as like they choose for their kids, then it's gonna cause all of this resentment, all of these issues, maybe even abuse. Like, who knows? It's just gonna cause problems because their kid is not exactly serving them or what they wanted to be. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It all starts with the wife. So they start with the controlling the wife. They have the kid, and they, like you said, it's an extension of them. They're also viewing their wife as an extension of them. Wow. I mean, I would believe.
Yeah, no, I really fully believe that. I never thought about it like that.
Because, like we were talking about, like they just, like the men we were talking about, they truly just believe that women are here to serve, and so once like you married and you're combined and you take his last name, you're now an extension of him, you know? And same with, like, the kid. You have the kid, it takes the husband's last name, extension of him. And, like, maybe that's another reason why men have this big-ass ego, because everything is just catered around them, you know? And the world is just built for men to strive and survive, and to everything just revolve around them. And that's why they don't think they're the inferior gender.
Holy shit, Maddie. You just blew my mind. Wow, holy shit. Because, yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
Never thought about the last name thing, and I'm living proof. Like, when me and Walker get married, I'm not gonna take his last name. I'm keeping my own last name.
Yeah.
But the only thing that sucks with that is that I didn't make that decision before I gave birth to our son. And so, but here's the thing. I also named our son's middle name after Walker too.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But, like, it's literally Kai Mason Oglesby. It's like Kai and then Walker. Like,
Kai Walker.
And I really, like, I really sat and thought about Kai's middle name, and I really wanted to, like, give that to Walker. I don't know how to explain it. I just really wanted, like,
I mean, it makes sense.
It's because, like, a sentimental thing.
My brother's, like, middle names are, like, also after, like, men who are, like, in my mom's life.
Right.
And, like, I remember before I, you know, didn't really fuck with my dad.
Right.
I also planned to name, like, my son after, like, my dad's middle name.
Yeah.
So,
would you still do that now?
No.
No. Just wondering.
I don't think so. But, like, I guess I'm just trying to say, like, don't...
The thought process.
Yeah, like, don't...
Like, it's not something I would say I regret.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Like, don't be, like, feel, like, bad about it.
And, like, honestly, just being completely real, I had a moment in my life where I literally had, like, one night where I was just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But in that night, I was just thinking about, like, how Kai is not going to have anything in his name that represents me. I mean, Christ, like, he even looks like Walker. He doesn't even look like me that much. But you know, it was just one of those things that's just like,
man genes.
I literally went through so much to give birth to him.
Yeah.
Not even just the actual labor and delivery.
Your, like, life trying to have him.
Not only that, but afterwards, I still have, like, issues from that. Just childbirth in general.
Him to take after his father.
Right?
How dare he?
He did it on purpose. Literally, one of the doctors, like, as they were pulling him out of me, they go, "Wow, he really looks like his dad."
So don't tell me that right now, motherfucker. I just spent all this time trying to get him out.
But all that to say, I can understand, like, the whole name thing, and I never thought about it that way, because it is true. Like, Kai is obviously Walker's son. They have the same last name, they have the same middle name. That, like, it's this whole lineage thing. For me, it's like, what am I, his baby mama? Like,
I know, because, like, I also, like, how you're saying you don't think you're not gonna take Walker's last name. I've thought about that a lot with Reese, because we've talked about marriage and whatnot. And me personally, like, my last name is Lafort, and, like, that's a pretty unique last name. Like, I've never met anyone else with that last name.
Right.
And my boyfriend's last name is Franklin. And I like my last name more. Like, I heard Franklin before. Like, I just like the uniqueness of it. But at the same time, I also don't want to be tied to my father's last name anymore. So it's like, there's that debacle between, do I want to be a girl boss and stay Miss Independent, keep my own last name because I'm my own person, or do I want to constantly be tied to my father's last name?
Right. Know? But, like, I almost said, what's your mom's maiden name? Literally just right here through the whole internet to just, like, hack all your passwords.
So do you want my social security number too?
But that's besides the point. I was just, anyway, random interest, I thought. But yeah, that is, it sucks that it's so correlated.
I just hate that it's like, that's just the way it is in our society, that you just take the man's last name.
I mean, if it makes any sense, like, I've always seen your last name as just, like, your last name. Yeah. I mean, I don't know your dad that well. Like, met the man a couple times, but like, I don't know. But I do understand like the whole family dynamic. So for me, the reason why I want to keep my last name is because, first of all, I feel like it just suits my name. Yeah. Second of all, it's my name. Third of all, it's like my family. I am really close to my family. And I just feel like it's an extension of myself, and I want to keep that. Yeah. And this has literally nothing to do with Walker or his family or literally anything. It's simply just me. It's just internally, like, I don't think I want to change my last name. Like, if, maybe cut down 5, I really doubt it. But maybe, like, once I get married, if I change my mind, I can, like, bite my words. But, like, I mean, really
you can
don't.
Always just, like, because my parents, growing up, my mom never legally changed her last name. But, like, on all of her social medias, like, on Facebook, she was...
Yeah.
Her first name, her middle name, her last name, my dad's last name.
Oh, yeah. Like, Kim Kardashian West, type of thing. Exactly. Yeah. I don't even know if I would do that. I don't know if that's bad, but like, okay, so the reason why I even started thinking about it was I was a bachelorette for 2 weddings, like back to back. And so obviously you're going to all these weddings. Yeah. It's just like, they're preparing to get their last names changed and all of these things. And then I just remember like straight up being like, I don't think I'm going to change my last name. And okay, this is how it felt. This is not how it really happened. But everyone was just like, yeah.
It's because we're so brainwashed into this idea that you have to take the man's last name. When it's, in reality, you don't have to. That's up to you. And like I said, if you want to be Miss Independent Girl Boss, because at the end, like you said, it's your name.
Right.
It's an extension of you. And of no one else. And it just kind of feels good to be your own person and like not necessarily have to be tied down to a man or just anyone in general, a partner in general, like just to be able to have that own comfort in yourself that
exactly
I am me.
Like, here's another example that I think correlates with that is, my mom was going into school and she got her like master's degree, and then I think this was before all the kids. She was planning on getting like her doctorate's degree and all of that. And then my dad was like, it was just a joke, right? Yeah. It was just a like little joke, but he was pretty much just saying like, oh wow, so it's gonna say like Dr. Joy Johnson on there, and like my mom did take his last name, and so yeah, it does. Yeah. My mom doesn't have her doctorate degree right now, but that's just, an example of just like, it's crazy how a woman's whole entire career can still have a man's name attached to it when they have nothing to do with it.
Literally. Like Haley right now, she's an RN, but she's Haley Ross RN.
Right.
Which is good for her. I know she's very happy. Her man is a good man.
Yay, Keyston.
He is a girl's guy for sure.
Absolutely.
Peace, love, Keyston. So, yeah.
But like you said with that, I also wanted to say like this is it's like it's so different if you are wanting to change your last name, because like I said, I feel like you can use the same reasons why I want to keep my last name and use those same reasons to want to change your name. So like how I'm really close to my family and I want to keep that part of myself. I mean, like kind of similarly, if you're really close to your partner and you want to build that life together, you're choosing your family, you're starting over. I can get it. I get it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking your partner's last name.
Right. It's just like, for me personally. Okay. Anyway.
We kind of went on a whole fucking tangent.
But that's okay. That's why we're here. It's like literally a podcast. That's what we're supposed to do.
True. Very true. So just back on like men hating women and shit. Men just be loving to hate, sometimes. Like, we were talking about earlier. So my boyfriend, I guess we weren't talking about this earlier, but my boyfriend's big in the car community. And there was this one time that there was this trend going around on TikTok, and it was like, show you and show what you drive. And my boyfriend, his whole TikTok is his car. He has never, ever, ever gotten any kind of hate about it. People love his car. They love him. Great. It's just the way things were. And then we see this trend. We put my face in front of his car, and suddenly it's the ugliest car they've ever seen. The build is the worst they've ever seen. The fitment is the worst just everything about everything is just bad. And it's like, okay, well, in the video before this, you were saying how much you loved it. So now why? Because there's a female's face in front of it, the car suddenly, because the car didn't change.
No, it's
the only thing that changed was me.
Yeah.
And because I'm a woman, I clearly don't know enough about cars to be able to own a cool car and be in the car community and this, and this, and simply because I am a woman.
I think that is
and that's soul fat.
So insane.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And like Sydney Sweeney, if you like, she literally is like, does all kinds of like mechanic shit and stuff to her car, but because she's a woman,
literally because she has tits.
Because she has tits, it's like, oh no, you're not actually into cars. You're just trying to look like you're into cars so you can lean over them and have a Megan Fox and Transformers moment where everyone falls in love with you because you're a hot girl on a hot car.
Right.
When it's like, nah, I'm just a woman who likes cars.
Right. I just like cars. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, people cannot fathom that women can have hobbies that are outside of traditional feminine hobbies.
Yep.
And that's another thing. The whole thing, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that TikTok clip of them just being like, do women have hobbies? And like, it's just that this podcast with these two guys just talking about it. And they're like, no. Well, it's like, of course women have hobbies. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, women have hobbies, but just because they're not the same interest as you have, they're not valid.
Yeah, they think the only hobbies that women are allowed to have is
makeup.
I like to do makeup, or I like to do hair. I like to go shopping.
I like to
cut.
It's
like, there's so much more. Like, yeah, I enjoy doing my makeup. Is it a hobby of mine? No.
Right.
But just because I'm a woman, that's what you would assume, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. And like, just like, even like pro sports and stuff, like women's basketball and stuff,
yeah.
like, I can't tell you, I work in a sports bar, and I can't tell you the amount of times that like, a women's game and a men's game for like basketball or something has been going on, and a woman's game was like on a TV that someone wanted to watch, and the person asked me to change it, and instead of just being like, hey, could you like change this game, they're like, can you change this shit? Nobody's watching these girls play ball.
You're kidding.
No! So many times! And it's like, what? Like, just no words. Like, okay, whatever. And it's just like, I feel like just because you're a woman, like, you don't get the same amount of respect because it's still not as hard as what men have to do. And like, just shit like that. And it just makes me upset, because it's like,
that is so true with the sports. Like, men don't take it seriously for women to be like active or in sports, because just like, I don't know, they just literally think that they're inferior. They think that women are inferior, like, physically, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's not a biological difference between men and women. There absolutely is. Like, I just sent you that TikTok about like how this woman was like play fighting with her boyfriend or something, and then like you can actually like see his strength come out for a little bit, like
like when he's like, y'all are play fighting, and then you see that he can literally pin you down with one hand
easily,
and it's like just the fear that immediately hits you when you realize you're not as indestructible as you think you are.
Nope, you are completely. And I think that's another thing that men just love to hold on to, just that power that they have, knowing that they can do that to you. Probably fucking turns them on.
Probably so.
Literally, just like the fact that I can take it, and like,
exactly what fucking Andrew Tate said. I just want what I want.
Right. I'm not a rapist, but...
And just the thrill, and I think it's also just the thrill of being able to take what they want. Like, they just literally find it exciting, and that's what's so sick, is like, they get a thrill out of it. And it's like, that's why, when, like, Jeffrey Dahmer, I might be talking about my ass, I might be thinking of a different serial killer, but like, they get a rush out of it.
Yeah.
Like, they do it, and they're like, I don't know why I did it, I know it's wrong, but it felt good. So good.
Right.
Scary.
Terrifying.
Like,
terrifying.
And like, I feel like that's how most abusers think, is that they just get a rush out of it.
Absolutely. I have, along with that whole like entitlement thing, like men feeling like women are made to like serve them and they're entitled to them. So what I have is like, they have emotional entitlement, but primarily it's sexual entitlement. And that is where it starts to get dangerous. Because, like you said, men like that, they have what they want, they know what they want, they seek what they want, and they will get what they want.
Yeah. And they think that we're just not gonna, like, react. Like, even not something so much as, like, sex, but just, like, a man, like, I've seen so many videos of a man walking down the street and just slapping a woman's ass.
Right.
Well,
because why not?
Yeah, because they think that
what are they going to do?
They're not going to react. They're a woman.
And even if they did,
back, I can take them. And it's like...
Right.
But...
Disgusting. So something I wrote down for men who feel sexually entitled to women is when men believe that women are supposed to keep them sexually satisfied all the time. And they have this entitlement to a woman's body that they feel like the fact that they are entitled to be the only guy that she's ever been with. So there's a couple different realms of entitlement, right? There's the entitlement of the act of sex. Like, you have to keep him sexually satisfied, otherwise he's going to either, like,
if he's not going to get it from you, he's going to get it from somewhere
else, or he's gonna, like, abuse it out of you. Like, it gets really fucking dark. Like, it just gets really dark because that's just the world that we live in. And then to be entitled to, like, keeping her pure, like we said earlier about her not having, like, a high body count or whatever. It's just all of these entitlements that is just like, this woman.
But kind of going on that, like, or something we said earlier is how, like, every woman you know, or for the most part, every woman you know has, like, a sexual assault story or knows someone with a sexual assault story. But it's like, if you're a guy and you're asking your guy friends, like, hey, you ever raped anybody? Nah. Like, no guy knows another abuser, you know?
Right.
But I was reading this thing, and it was a misogyny hate crime evaluation, and it said that after 2 years of research, over half the women had experienced threatening behavior, almost half were groped, quartered, were followed home, and sexually assaulted. And it's just like...
Wow.
And like, that's what I was kind of, like, saying... for the, like, when women hate men, it's like, these are the kind of reasonings we have behind them. Because when have you ever heard of a woman just walking up and grabbing a man's dick, you know?
Right.
Like, I'm sure it happens.
Me with... I don't know if this is so out of pocket, but I was going to say me with Walker when he gets home. I'm just like...
Come here, boy. I mean, I can't say I don't walk Reese like a dog, but... Right. I'm joking. No, but for real. Like, it's just not very heard of to just, you know. But there are many of times that I've been in a fucking grocery store, I've been at work, and there's been plenty of room for a man to walk behind me, but he just has to put his hands on your hips and, oh, excuse me.
Right.
Oh, yeah, excuse you.
Why are you touching me?
Yeah, there will be a whole 3 yards of space behind me, and he's just gonna, let me just shimmy through here real quick.
I don't know if I know you've worked in the service industry for a while. I don't know if you've ever run into this, but I used to have this old manager that would, like, he was old, and he would just be like, hey, I was 16, and he would just be like, hey, Michaela, can you, like, sweep up behind the, like, and he would just be, like, rubbing my back. He'd be like, can you, like, sweep up the lobby? And then he literally, this is a very specific day, but he was like, can you just sweep up the lobby? And then can you, like, run the coffee maker so, like, you can run me coffee? Like, not kidding. In the same breath as he was, like, caressing my back as a 16-year-old, he was just like, can you clean the lobby? And then can you, like, run the coffee maker thing so that I can make him coffee? And it's literally just so gross. Like, first of all, why the fuck are you touching me?
Yeah.
Second of all, do you not have legs to make coffee? Like,
yeah, no. But I've had a manager before, who he was older, he was weird, he was just gross vibes.
Right.
But I remember literally, like, my first week at this job, a girl was late. I was working a morning shift. I'm waiting for the day to start, and she comes in a little late. We're not even open yet. Like, we were supposed to be there at 10:30. We open at 11. She got there at, like, 10:50, 10:55. Yeah. Like, she was late, but she still wasn't late, you know?
Right.
But this man made her stand up on the steps in front of everybody working that day and dance to I'm a Little Teapot, just to solely embarrass her in front of everybody. And he did that multiple times. I saw him do that 3 times in the time that he worked there.
Yeah. Like, you've witnessed that. That is something that I literally hear on, like, the news because it was just so, like, outlandish. Like,
yeah, no, I witnessed that. And, like, that, like I said, my first week I saw that.
I feel like I'd be crying if that were me.
So, like, everyone was just kind of, like,
so
looking
uncomfortable.
at each other, like, what? And, yeah, and he, come on. Come on, you don't get to come down until you do it. Come on, everybody's waiting. Come on.
Ew.
Yeah, and it's just like...
And it just sucks because you have to do it or you get fired.
Literally,
or you get fucking fired.
At the time. He was the head manager at the time. And it's just like... These men having power over young women in the service industry or just jobs in general, like... Older men being in charge of young women it's just gross.
I was
most of the time they're gross.
Today, and it was talking about how, you know, obviously we know that we live in a patriarchal society, but what that really means is that oftentimes in the job force, or even in politics, or the like just any industry, pretty much, the positions of power are always given to men. Mm-hmm. And I have a really great like. I can't talk about that, but... I know, I was about to say I have a perfect example, but again, right. My workplace now, and I'm not trying to get fired. Yeah, no, whenever Reese got hired for his, like, manager position, which I'm not saying Reese got his job only because he's a man, right. Because I know he did work very, very hard for it. But, I remember him coming home and telling me, because I think there was 2 other girls applying for the position. Mm-hmm. And, he was talking to one of them about it, like, after the fact, and he was like, oh, like, how did your interview wind up going? And she was like, oh, like, they wound up just not interviewing me. Like, they just told me they knew they were going to give it to you. Yeah. And Reese said he felt so bad because he was like, I mean, even if they knew they were going to give it to me, like, they should have given her interview. Like, they still should have heard her out and heard her, like, what she had to say, because she was like, she could have been, like, more deserving than me, you know? And they just didn't even give her the chance. And so, obviously, my boyfriend's one of the good ones out there. He could see that this system was fucking her over, but, right. And like I said, I'm not saying that, like, that was the reason just because he was a man, but, like, it's just, you know, it sucks to see that, and he even saw it too, that they didn't even give her the opportunity just because they were like, oh no, we're going with him. Yeah. And it's just like, that is if so she was crazy. A man, would she, even if they were going with Reese, would they still have, you know, given her definitely would have.
At least given her the interview, just to be like, hey, like, you know, we tried it, it's just we don't think it's the right fit, you know, whatever. But to just be like, oh no, we're going with him. Yeah. And there's just too many situations like that.
Oh, okay. I have another point of why men are inferior. Sorry if you hear me. She's having fun back there. So, another reason why men are inferior is because of the lack of ability to create social groups. Mm-hmm. So, this is a big one. Big disclaimer for everything that we're saying in this episode is that we're not talking about all men. So,
yeah, we're just gonna have to keep saying that because I know no matter how many times we say it, there's still gonna be that one person.
But this is not all men, so it is not only very possible for men to have a like good just group of friends. It's encouraged, and that's great. But it goes more. I mean, friendship is where it starts, but then it really snowballs whenever you can't have like male coworkers without that competitive drive. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, as you get into more positions of power, it affects everything else because you're just trying to be like the alpha male or whatever.
Yeah, because you think back and it like really starts in like high school and, you know, like competing for sports. Like I know growing up I saw like, you know, a lot of the guys groups who were friends, they were usually friends because they played the same sport together or they, did something the same together and like they just bonded that way. But then they're doing those things but they're still competing because they're still trying to be the best at what they're doing,
Yeah.
And so it's even though they're creating those relationships, they're still creating them under environments that's not,
Normal.
formative for a
right.
good relationship. Like it's still pitting them against each other. And so they think now, even though now we're not playing that sports per se, like we're outside trying to have fun just together in the real world, there's still that kind of competitive edge. Like if two guys like the same girl,
that
competitive nature. And it's just, I feel like that's just how their relationships are. Yeah.
So I never thought about it like that because that is so true. A lot of, friendships that started in high school, started with sports and how it's like it's competitive from the start. And then it just goes up from there.
Yep. And you get out of high school and you're competing for jobs and then you're competing for a house to live in. You're competing for just everything.
Right. So for what I wrote down is that men have fewer and less intimate relationships with other men. And I mean, we were kind of talking about that earlier about how sometimes men will literally pay sex workers to just sit down and talk to them because they can't talk to anyone else.
Yeah. They feel like men feel like they can't be vulnerable with their other male friends.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as women, our friend groups, we strive in just talking about our days and talking about how we feel and, the latest gossip, the latest tea,
right.
What's going on with each other. Like, we like to dive deep and make those deep connections. But for the most part, like, males, like, they're not, like you said, they're not making those deep connections because they're scared of being vulnerable. They're scared of, if I talk about my feelings, they're going to think I'm gay.
Yeah. Or they're going to think I'm weak.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're synonymous in guys' minds. Like, being gay is like just being weak. Like, literally, that's just, anyway. But, it made me think as to why. And so I did a little bit of research and I found that, it comes down to just traditional toxic masculinity. So in my opinion, through the research that I did, it really starts as like what it means to be a man for you. So for men, they really have to sit and think with that. What does it mean to be a man? And so a lot of times these boys are taught that it is being stoic. So being super independent, being like, I have to do everything on my own. Otherwise I'm not strong enough and I will fail. And you have to be independent. You have to be very competitive, be very aggressive, be a go-getter, go get what you want. You can't just sit around and like
wait for it.
You have to go get it no matter what that is. And it can internalize into very dark shit. Yeah,
exactly what we were talking about earlier. Just that if I want it, I'm going to get it attitude.
And then I think one of the biggest reasons that comes with the competitiveness kind of aspect is just straight up dominance. Like, men have this need to assert their dominance wherever they can, and so that's why men have a hard time having other relationships with other guys, is because like it's not as easy to assert your dominance over another guy as it is a woman or like, so whoever, right? And then this is also a very interesting point that I wrote down. And I don't know if I made this word up because I remember writing it down. I was like, I've never heard of that word, but it makes sense. So it's actually called homohysteria. And so it is different than homophobia, because it's just the fear of being labeled as gay. And like we said, in minds of some men, it's like being gay is synonymous to being weak. And so the fear of being labeled of gay just by being intimate or like sharing a story or just reaching out or just whatever it is, like having close male friendships, it's like it causes them to just stay to themselves. And I feel like all of these different traits is what leads to such a high suicide rate in men,
honestly,
because they don't have a support system because of all of the things that they have either internalized or all of the things that they've been taught or just the things that they've either put themselves through in some cases, like they just don't have a lot of support systems. And so these and
then you have men like Andrew Tate telling you depression isn't real, mental health isn't real, you're a pussy if you can't just get through it. And it's like, okay, but it is real. Mental illness is very real, and it does affect anybody and everybody. Like, and I feel like our society has just built this, like we were saying, like men feel like they have to be strong, they have to be independent, and they can't just be vulnerable. And it's just because our society has, made it seem like other men have just made it so hard for other men to be in touch with anything. Like, the people you surround yourself with, it has so much to do with the kind of person you are. And I wholeheartedly believe that, because if you're surrounded by a bunch of just pieces of shits who are cheating on their girlfriend, lying, doing this, and that, more than likely, you're gonna be influenced.
Right.
But if you're surrounded by people who, are gonna hold you accountable, and even if, they're doing stuff because, like, say they're single and, they can live their life, they're not trying to convince you to do it too because you're their buddy. Like, they're like, nah, like, you got a girl at home. Like, right. Like, it's just very good to...
That's why I love our friend group, too. Mm-hmm. It just so happens to be that we're all pretty much, like, in relationships, and not, like, we all are kind of having, like, the same... Mm-hmm. We're not trying to, like, go out and meet different people. Like, we're literally just trying to, like... The most fun that I have at our house is just, like, when we're here and we're, like, eating pizza and playing board
exactly.
games.
The other night...
Fun times.
It was St. Patty's Day, and I was hanging out with some friends, and one of them was talking about, like, going to the club and, like, just getting fucked up for St. Patty's. What else is there to do? I was gonna drink green beer, I guess. You know what we wound up doing? We went to Walmart and we bought stuff to make dinner. And we all stayed in and cooked dinner together.
And had a great night.
And I had an amazing time. I had so much more fun than I would have had at a club.
Right, literally.
And it's just like finding that group of people where you can, again, it comes back to vulnerability, just feel vulnerable with and just feel comfortable being yourself and not having to put that mask on of, I'm a big tough guy. Like, you just feel better.
Right.
Like, to just let go and be you without the fear of, being
judged, like, or anything like that.
It's so, like, everyone needs that.
Yeah.
Not just guys, not just women. Like, that is such a fundamental thing that I think we need. Is just good relationships.
And as well as your relationships in real life, I feel like it's also the parasocial relationships that you have with, like, influencers and the people that you watch and the communities that you build on there, because that's, like, it's such a huge part of our lives nowadays. Like, whatever you're into in life is it's going to be the content you consume, So if your values are toxic and abusive and whatnot, that's the type of
people you're going to attract.
Yep. And it just fuels that even more, because if, it's one thing to have an opinion and just have that be your own opinion. But if you have an opinion and people are boosting up that opinion, masses of people are boosting up that opinion.
With bad opinions.
Right. It's like...
Cult.
It really is. It really is. I guess, lastly, this is just, like, a question that I kind of just thought about. Mm-hmm. So, if there are any men watching this podcast right now, if you've lasted all the way to this point, and do you have, like, anything you want to say to anyone listening, like, right now? I'll do the same.
To anyone listening right now, I guess, again, let me just preface, we know it's not all. We know there's the outliers. We know that there are some bad females out there too. But really, just like we said earlier, if the shoe fits, wear it. Do something about it. Like, we're not trying to just be hating ass girls like y'all like to hate. We're just really trying to, I think, spread awareness on some very serious issues and women's issues, because obviously we are females. Right. We gotta look out for the girls. And I think that it's just finally time for someone to say what not everyone wants to say,
I absolutely agree with that. Like,
someone needs to hold them accountable.
Please. And if it has to be me, I'll do it. Like,
literally.
Fingers cracked. Like, I'm ready, stretch it out. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So, for me, if there are any guys still watching this at this point, I think I would just say that it is possible to be a really good man and have like good morals and stuff like that. And I just want to say, like, I personally don't believe that all men are this like evil, dumb, like, I don't know, just abusive, angry.
Yeah, like we both have boyfriends who are very good men in our lives. And like, even though I have seen, like, I grew up with a very narcissistic, just literally said that a woman's job was to nurture and a man's job was to provide. Like, that was his whole logic in his head. So I've seen both parties. Mm-hmm. Like, I know there's good men out there, and I've seen the really bad ones out there. Like,
and I think where it's important is that if you are one of those good men, like my boyfriend Walker, your boyfriend Reese, Keyston we mentioned, like, if you are one of those good men out there, I would encourage you to spread that to your peers. Challenge other men when you catch them saying some bullshit like that.
Yeah, call them out.
I know that happens, you know, especially my boyfriend. He works in the blue collar field. In the middle of Texas, you know, they're working, and you can only imagine the things that they say and believe. So
when they're away from their wives too, like, it's just a bunch of men being men together.
Yep. And it's small things, like if they make a really insensitive or misogynistic joke, just don't laugh. Just be like, look at them like they're crazy, like, because they are. Yeah. That's not funny. Like, and
we just stop playing into it, because the more we play into it and the more we let these men get away with what they're doing, the more they're gonna do it.
Right.
Like, we all have to join in on this fight. Like, like you were saying, if your friend says some joke, call them out. If they say something racist, like, if your white friends out there saying the N-word just because it's in a song.
Right.
It doesn't need to be said. It's so easy to just not say it.
Right.
Call them out. Hold them accountable. That's like, just accountability is such a big thing.
Because you don't have to be like marching in the streets or like rallying petitions to be a feminist.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a man. The biggest thing as a man that you can do is call out other men.
Mm-hmm. Because they're way much more likely to listen to you than a woman trying to put them in check.
It's like they won't even be able to register the words that I'm saying because I have tits and like I'm a woman.
You're a woman who's boobling.
Right. It goes in one ear and out the other. In one tit and out the other. Like that. But as a guy, you have that like respect that guys have just for other guys. So if you are able to influence someone even just a little bit to be, I guess, just like more tolerant of women. Person. God, it's like we're begging. We're just like, don't hate us, please.
Please, just an ounce of respect.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for listening and sitting through our first episode.
I know it was a lot of ranting, a lot of tangents, a lot of maybe just talking out our ass, but we appreciate so much for you staying and listening to it all.
And from here on out, like, we're honestly just going to be giving our truest opinions. We're going to be talking on subjects that we're really passionate about. And we would love for you to like join the conversation and listen in. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I know that it was very controversial. Way to start off with a banger. But I think that's all. So bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Have a good day, I guess.
Peace.